Good morning and welcome to Morning Java, brought to you as always by Get Go Cafe and Market, where Alex, they always got fresh food, fresh subs. They've got great options, clean pickup service. You can do curbside delivery. Get Go Cafe and Market, get your food right now. I've been using them all throughout this time.
Will they deliver to, I think I'm still in Ohio or Chicago or wherever I am, whenever this goes live?
Wherever you're pulling. Ladies and gentlemen, normally I'm here doing Java with Dale Lally, but here I am with Alex Stump, who's on the road, literally on the road, on his way to Chicago to see the Pirates take on the Cubs. So we're going to do a baseball Java here, getting y'all ready for that. Before we talk anything about the Cubs, Alex, you did your 10 thoughts on the Pirates and the series that they've gone through. They've been through two series. A lot of people are wondering, what's going on, what are the expectations. We saw Colin Moran do the thing that he always does by getting the early runs, but there's nobody scoring early in these games, and that was something that you touched upon. Give us some of your wisdom as far as what the Buccos are going through right now.
I mean, it's early in the season, so those slumps, everyone's going to go through a 6-game stretch that we've seen Brian Reynolds go through, or we've seen Josh Bell go through. I mean, Reynolds might be kind of the exception because he didn't have that at all his rookie season. But whenever you have, it's stacked one on top of the other, 1 through 4. I mean, with Frazier and Newman also in the mix, they've just been bad these first 2 series. I know Frazier had the big hit. Reynolds had a couple hits a couple nights ago, but you could pretty much count on one hand how many hits they've had as a group. It's not good. It's less than ideal to go through. And it's really the starters that they're struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
Shelton talked about coming in, how, pitchers are ahead of the hitters. Okay, that's as common. And he also said that he felt the starting pitchers are going to be ahead of the relievers because it's easier for them to prepare, during the shutdown. I have to throw X amount of innings today in a bullpen or however the situation is. So the hitters are behind, the starters are ahead. Starters are blowing past the Pirates right now, and that's concerning. The Florida Marlins, who played 3 games this year,
mm-hmm.
and God knows when the next time they're going to play, have scored more runs in the first 6 innings than the Pirates.
That's a yikes. Now, here's a serious question, though, because we're looking at the Pirates. We're seeing their struggles. As a person who's always watched the Pirates, I know they normally struggle early. They normally come out the gate, they stumble, and then they eventually, when they were competitive, even then they would figure it out by like the second or third month, and then they'd be in the hunt. But right now, it seems like everyone's anxious because you got the new manager, and on top of that, you got what's going on with COVID, and you got the shortened season. What are your takeaways for what their approach is right now? I mean, everyone was talking about how pitchers were going to have an advantage because of this, the situation we're in and how things have played out so far. But do you look at the approach that they're taking collectively at the plate and the battles that they've been through? Where do you think that they're headed as far as a group right now, with facing those pitchers? Do you think that's something that they'll ever be able to overcome, or that's what we got to get ready to watch them endure?
I think it will eventually, they'll get over it as the season progresses. I mean, regular spring training is about 6 weeks. They had 3 weeks of summer camp, and a lot of that was just facing their own guys. They just had those 3 exhibitions against Cleveland. So maybe they don't really get started until mid-August, as hitters. But I look at someone like Josh Bell, who the Brewers had a very clear game plan for him. It was the low outside breaking and off speed stuff. He just couldn't square it up all series. That's what they always do to him. So I don't know how much of these early season struggles are. They have really good scouting reports on the Pirates. And, these are going to be mostly teams in their division. And they know these hitters well, and how much of it is just early season rust, getting up to speed, getting the timing. Like someone like Polanco, I'm willing to buy. That's just timing. I mean, he missed half the summer camp, and he came in basically cold. Okay, it makes sense that he's not all the way up to a 98-mile-per-hour fastball. But for someone like Bell, who looked really good in the exhibitions, for him to all of a sudden get cold, I think that might be more in the scouting and preparedness than it is, getting ready for the season.
What's your approach, or what's your opinion on Shelton and how he's handled these first couple series? Because there's a lot of criticism. Dayon, he's been chirping on his podcast about it. And I mean, and rightfully so. There were times I was sitting there, I'm thinking like, what are we doing here? But
we almost made it a week before the Shelton criticisms began from DK and the comments section. The whole point of this season, even though the playoff spot, is enticing and everything, it's to learn what they have, to get better, to find out if someone like Nick Turley, if he's facing Christian Yelich with the bases loaded, that left-on-left matchup, can he win? That's the main thing that this season is going to be taken from. And I think in that regard, Shelton has done well. I get why are you changing up the lineup so much early on? Shouldn't these guys be as fresh as they're going to be this season? Instead of, trying to pace it out, so late September you don't have a bunch of guys who are just gassed like they were last year. It's 6 games. I mean,
I agree.
The clubhouse is in. That win Tuesday night, I think, was very impressive. That was, I think, a product of that loose clubhouse. And, they say, hey, don't count us out. And you can be like, okay, yeah, whatever. That was a good show. Don't tell.
Alex, let's talk about some national stuff right now, and not involving the Nationals. But, of course, he's making the face. Of course, I want to ask you about what went down between the Dodgers and the Astros, because all throughout the COVID, all throughout this offseason, everyone, once that Houston Astros non-punishment was doled out, everyone was talking about how there's going to be retribution to be had this year. And Joe Kelly, the pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers, certainly put that on a couple nights ago. He came out, he was throwing high on some of the Astros players, and then when he struck out, I believe it was Carlos Correa, and he threw some insults his way, and Correa had some words back at him, and then he made the face that you've been making, and then he said some more curse words at him, and it caused some tension there in that game. But now Joe Kelly's been suspended for I think 8 games now, and there's a lot of talk about what are we really doing here, because the MLB wouldn't punish these guys for cheating, and now you're punishing the guys who are coming after them because they got off for cheating. What's your take when you see all of this and the temperament of the days that we're in?
I mean, I've been very critical of how Manfred handled that investigation, and I'm not even necessarily that he had to grant the players immunity to get what he felt was good information, but how that was basically all the investigation was. Like, hey, come in here. You have immunity. Now admit it. I'm not going to check with anyone else, Scout's honor here. It was a bad investigation. I think the way the investigation was handled is the extra layer to it. Like, if they would have stripped the World Series or punished the players, I think there would have been less bitterness in towards that. But since there was basically nothing except a couple figureheads being fired and suspended, which greatly won't affect the individuals on the team for this whole year, I see why players are like, yeah, it's my turn to take it on. That being said, it is ridiculous that we are still having, people throw pitchers' heads at whatever. That's just stupid. It's dumb. It's barbaric. You could really hurt someone. What is the end game there? No, it's ridiculous. And I can not let past the irony that Joe Kelly wasn't on those 2017 Dodgers. Instead, he was on the 2018 Red Sox, another team that stole a World Series from the Dodgers by cheating. My goodness. Of all people.
That is the beautiful irony of this. I mean, and it's just like, first of all, Boston and cheating that just goes with the way it goes. But I mean, baseball just has a ton of irony in it, man. And you're right. I agree with you about the throwing at people's heads. I understand when it's time to stand up for your guys, if your guys aren't being protected. But this is a situation where, look, you're mad at them because they got off. I get that there's frustration there, but like you said, what's the end game here? You actually do hit Carlos Correa in the head, and he suffers a serious injury, and then where are we at?
Yeah.
I agree with you there. I think that baseball, it's policing itself. There's romanticism for that for a lot of old school fans because they remember some of the good old Knucks of the day, and or even recent ones where like Odor, clocked Jose Bautista at second base. But all in all, it's like, how has this sport not progressed past this kind of culture, despite it being maybe the oldest league of the four majors in the U.S.?
So I have a bone to pick, not with you, just with the internet in general. Because, well, you are in the internet in general, so maybe this is a little directed towards you, Carter.
What did I do?
Well, you are on the internet. That's your problem. Joe Musgrove has pitched relatively well this year. I mean, 2 starts where one more out, it qualifies as a quality start. Most of the way through was looking pretty darn good. Lots of swing and miss. Just 1 or 2 mistake pitches over the course of the game. Actually, specifically 2, both games, and they both left the yard. Not great, but 2 serviceable starts. I put on Twitter, again, on Wednesday night, Joe Musgrove, he looked good. Problem is, Woodruff looked better. Why does everyone assume that means Joe Musgrove is an ace?
So wait, no, hold on. In defense of the internet, it sounds like the problem is that you didn't put enough context in your tweet, my good man. Because
I didn't put any context in it. I didn't say Joe Musgrove, not an ace, has looked pretty well. But I feel like if I don't put those 3 words, it's like, he's not an ace. He's not AJ Burnett. He's not. It's like, what's going on here?
First of all, I want to make it clear that I never attacked you, though. I'm about to.
Not you. No.
Right
I'm just blaming you for being one of 1,000 people that I follow on the Twitter or whatever. You're in the Twitter biosphere with me, so everyone's taking a little bit of blame on this one.
Hold on, I'm looking for your thing here to comment and say, wow.
It was also in the live file comments. I got it felt like 5 or 6. It was the exact same comment, like not an ace. It's like, who said? Where did I say that? Where did anyone say that? Who has said Joe Musgrove is an ace?
Welcome to sports coverage. I feel you. It happens to me a lot when I say something that, Ben Roethlisberger had a bad game. Oh, you think he should be fired? I never said that. People take everything to the extreme. But to your point, I think Alex, some of this is normal sports fandom because sports fans, the word is derivative of fanatic, which means they take things to the 10th degree. But on top of that, Pirates fans are hurt, man. I mean, you and I know this. They've gone through the wars. They're tired of seeing the same things. Some they're going to react to. And I'm not saying they're justified attacking you for your tweet, even though I'm still looking for this tweet so I can attack it. Because believe me, when I find this tweet, Alex, it's going to be all over your mention. I'm going to be like, I can't believe that you think he's an ace.
It's someone people are going to see on Twitter. They're going to be like, wow, I guess Carter's just going off a day later, not knowing the context of it. But I like that point about the fanatics. Let's bring the Steelers into this too, so you're not just stuck talking baseball the entire time with me. What is wrong with saying something is pretty good? What is wrong with saying Vince Williams is a pretty good linebacker?
No, I'm with you on that. And that's why I empathize. That this goes across through all sports. If a player isn't doing everything, if they aren't the best in their position, even when they are the best in their position, Antonio Brown was the best receiver in football, and people still criticized everything he did, even before he went crazy. And I'm with you on that because you can acknowledge, and this is what we do as writers of the sports that we cover, of people that break down the game and look for the different details. We acknowledge where things are looking positive. For example, I used to say, and bringing that football in, I used to say, hey man, Bud Dupree's working on some things. he's getting there. And people were like, you're crazy. He'll never do anything. And then this year, lo and behold, he rips off a great year for the Steelers in 2019 and shows that he can produce at a level that him and Watt would make them maybe the best edge rushing pair in the NFL. But the same thing goes for Musgrove. All you're doing, so fans, I'm talking to you. I'm defending Alex now. I'm not, although I will attack his tweet. But in defense of Alex, Musgrove is working on things. The man's not saying that he's great and that he's about to take over the league. But what he is saying is like, hey, here are the positive aspects to his game. The Pirates have a long way to go. Everybody knows that. But the few things that we can take away right now is that we are looking for the guys that are putting in the work that are going to be part of the building blocks to whatever they build in the very near future. And if Musgrove is putting more positive things together, maybe then he's part of that picture. And I think that's all that Alex is saying. He's not saying he's A.J. Burnett. He's not saying he's Liriano when he was actually good. He's not going down any one of those lines. He's just saying, hey, you know what? These are the positive aspects of his game. And there's nothing wrong with that.
You know what? I needed the guy who writes Classroom, to back up the mound visit guy here. So I appreciate that, Carter. Don't send the tweet, please.